You're listening to Drinks and a Movie with your host, Rudy. Spoiler alert.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Drinks and a Movie podcast. I'm just doing a little bonus episode for the week. I wanted to talk about some of my favorite movies of 2023. I know it's a little late to the game, but seeing as how the Academy Awards haven't happened yet, and I feel like that kind of marks the end of the movie year, I thought I'd spend some time just talking about a few of my favorites and also breaking the seal on Old Overholt. I was going to say Old Grandad. Old Overholt 10-year-old Cask Strength. I haven't tried this yet. I managed to grab this bottle in December, I think like Christmas week. And I haven't opened it yet. I've just been kind of like hanging on to it. So I'm finally going to try it right now. I haven't had Old Overholt 114 yet, but I do like the bottle and bond. I think it's fine. But yeah, a 10-year-old Cask Strength version. I mean, this should be pretty good. We're coming in at 121 proof. And yeah, distilled and bottled by James B. Beam Distilling, which, you know, I love. Just do a little bit. So yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about this one. I'm happy to finally try it out. So let's see what we got. Man, the nose is very savory. Like it's got that black pepper, of course, but it seems very dark and almost like savory and like a salty kind of way, which is interesting. You know, like definitely less sweet, but more like a I don't know, meaty. Like I'm about to like eat some salty food. I don't know. Now I feel like it's mellowing out into some of the sweeter kind of a little bit of a vanilla note, a little bit of that kind of oak characteristic for sure. Yeah, all in all, kind of muted though, to be honest. Well, yeah, let's go in. Cheers. Let's see what we got. That's good. It's really viscous. Like that spice really punches through on the front of the palate. I got this nice buttery kind of caramelly flavor coming into like the back palate, which was interesting. It reminded me a little more of a bourbon, to be honest. Yeah, man, just a ton of spice. Like now, definitely like a lot of nutmeg coming through on the nose and the clove, your typical kind of baking spice notes. Man, it's really good. All those same spices I'm talking about on the nose, like really come through. Just classic rye, nutmeg, clove, black pepper. It doesn't have that same kind of savoriness it did on the first aroma I got. It finishes really nice and like pretty easy going for 121 proof, but yet still like viscous and has a lot of depth of flavor to it, even though it goes down to me like somewhat easy. But I do still feel a little bit of that warm hug. It's not like burning and like really rough, but it's just like nice and cozy. It's too bad it's really hot in here right now. Otherwise, this would be really good right about now. Like, man, this around like a fire, like on a camping trip would be awesome. Yeah, it's still consistent all the way through. All those same notes, really good. Again, really good depth of flavor. I really like this one. And I think pretty soon I'm going to probably do a blind tasting with this in my Knob Creek Cask Strength. And it'd be interesting to see how this stacks up against that, seeing as how they're both from Beam ultimately. But yeah, so that's good. Old Overholt 10. There it is again, in case you didn't quite see it before. Yeah, love it. So now let's go ahead and talk movies real quick. This won't be like a deep dive into all these films. This will just be kind of a quick me going through this list I've got of my favorite movies of the year. Again, I just wanted to do this before the Oscars came about. So here we go. I'm going to start with a few honorable mentions, and then we'll go from there. So just first honorable mention is going to be Creed 3. I really love the first Creed, Ryan Coogler. The second one, and I remember at first being kind of against it. I was like, why are we doing this again? Like, we're going to do a Rocky spinoff. I thought Rocky 6 like actually ended it really well and on a high note. I know some people don't like it. I thought it was really good. Then when I realized, you know, it's Ryan Coogler, I'm like, okay, that should be, you know, interesting. We'll see how that goes. And then I loved it. I think it's one of the best in that whole franchise for sure. Creed 2, I thought was fine. I did like the idea of like Ivan Drago coming back and having him and just seeing him and, you know, Rocky like in the same scene together again, having dialogue was like pretty cool. But as a whole, it was just kind of fine, you know, to me, to be honest. But Creed 3, I think, is up there close to the first one. I definitely think it's better than the second. I think it's a really great directorial debut from Michael B. Jordan. I really like Jonathan Majors' performance. And, you know, the way Jordan kind of incorporates his almost like anime influence into some of the fight scenes and does try to do something different with it. Ultimately, you know, it's the same kind of thing we've seen before to an extent. This is definitely like a different take. And yeah, I like the characters. I love the way they kind of built their backstory and, you know, the way it kind of resolves in the end. And the whole like training montage music was great. Him coming out of retirement and all that. Yeah, I just thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Creed 3. Next honorable mention is, maybe lower this a little bit. Next honorable mention is going to be Flamin' Hot, Eva Longoria's feature film directorial debut. That one I thought was really great as well. I got to see it at a free screening near Alvaro Street right before it got released on Hulu and Disney Plus and all that. I wish it got a wider like theatrical release. I think it definitely deserved it. That was a movie that I covered solo because I didn't have any other friends that had seen it at the time. And I wanted to chat about it, so you can go and listen back to that episode of the podcast if you want to. I think for that one, I drink the Sierra Norte Red Corn Expression, which really grew on me. I hated it the first time I tried it, but on that episode, I actually really dug it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good movie. I know some people have gone and said like, oh, well, there's a lot of it that's not true. And you can say that about all biopics, you know, like that's just kind of the way they go. And yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, I do recommend it. I think it's really good. And yeah, so Flamin' Hot. Next honorable mention is going to be Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. I rushed to see it as soon as it came out. I saw it like really late at night, and I only got to watch it the one time. That's why it goes in the honorable mention category, because I would have liked to see it in theaters the second time. I liked it. I know a lot of people complain about how long the movie was. That didn't bother me. I felt that it was fine. It wasn't as paced, I think, as well as maybe The Irishman was, where that was a really long movie too, but it never like got boring. This one, it never got boring to me either. And I don't know upon the first viewing what I would have cut out necessarily. So that's why I got to see it again. But I mean, I really liked it. I know there's definitely been some complaints about it, but I think it was a story that needed to be told. I'm fine with Martin Scorsese doing it. I'm fine with them kind of following more of the villains of the movie. I'm okay with all that. Great performances all around. It was cool to see Robert De Niro and Leo in the same Scorsese movie. You know, I'd geek out on stuff like that. And then, yeah, great cinematography by Rodrigo Prieto and just all the usual stuff. You know, it's a good Scorsese movie, but I got to see it again and see if it like kind of holds up for me. But anyway, going into my favorite, what do we got here? Oh, wait, I got one more honorable mention. Evil Dead Rise. I saw it when it opened up, and I really liked that it kind of was, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a sequel or what. And it turns out that it's essentially a remake of the original film, but just with a different setting. And I did like that. Like, I thought the 2013 Evil Dead remake is actually good. I mean, I really dig it. I like what they did. I like that they kept the gore and practical effects. I think they stayed true to that spirit in this movie. And I like the kind of apartment setting. It would have been neat to see a little more of LA and all that, but I mean, I guess it makes sense to just keep it confined. But yeah, I like that. It was interesting to see the Evil Dead thing play out in that circumstance. I love that whole opening at the lake and all that, and the titles coming out behind the mountains and all that stuff was super cool. And just the gore effects. I didn't quite like the how all the Deadites kind of form into one like weird spider or monster, like the Thing kind of situation. That I didn't really care for, but the rest of the movie I really enjoyed. I think it was good. So yeah, now my next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess my favorite 6 movies of 2023. And this is in no particular order. I'm just going to kind of list them off. So this isn't a ranking by any means. I'm just going off my list. John Wick 4, the John Wick franchise. My friend Matt and I covered it on the podcast. We did all 4 movies. Each one is great. And it's one of the rare occasions where the sequels just got better and better and better and better. And the 4th one is no exception. The longest movie of the franchise, but it holds up all the way through. I can live in this case with the cartoony him falling off buildings and all that stuff. But man, such a great movie, so much fun. It's amazing that they're able to just top the action from film to film. It's like you always think it got to the pinnacle of like just cool action stuff that's happening. and then they take it a step further. You know, I mean, with this one, you got that whole one take shot where the camera is like up above when they're in that like a building and it's the bird's eye view. I mean, it's incredible. Love John Wick 4. Next one, I'm going to say Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. You know, we've been waiting for him to do that film for a long time. I'm glad it finally happened. It seems like it was a pretty quick turnaround for it as well, which I love. Just great back to basics kind of slasher movie. It does nothing new, but it's so good and so much fun. Good effects, good kills. The whole Black Friday, like cold open is awesome. You know, the cast I think is pretty good. Yeah, I just love Thanksgiving. Just loved it. I've watched it a few times, like several times already. I think I saw it in theaters twice. I even took my dad to see it on Thanksgiving night. And, you know, I even showed it to both my parents and my brother recently, and they all enjoyed it, which is like not likely. So I love that even for people that aren't into horror films like I am, it's still like fun for a lot of people as it should be, you know, and has some good, like, some scares and creepy moments for sure, you know, and it doesn't get too screwed up like you think an Eli Roth movie would. Like there's one part in particular I thought was going to be really bad, and it wasn't that bad. It's still really messed up, but it wasn't that bad. It's not like, you know, your early like 2000s Eli Roth, but I love those movies too. So yeah, Thanksgiving, definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Next, I'm going to go American Fiction. Loved American Fiction. That's one of the most recent episodes we've done on the podcast. Directorial debut, Cord Jefferson. Amazing. Like first effort. I'm glad it's up for these awards. I would be down if this won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Like I would be super into that. The whole cast is great. It's so well written. Everybody should see this movie. I even recommended it to another podcast called The Real Generation Gap. I recommended it to those guys and they did an episode on it. And I think it was maybe the first time or one of like very few times where I think it was 3 hosts for that one or maybe 2, but they all ranked it like a 10 out of 10, which was really cool to see. Yeah, American Fiction. If you haven't seen it, if it's still in theaters, definitely go check it out. Easily one of the best movies of the year. And I'm going to go Godzilla -1, another one of the greatest movies of 2023. I saw this in theaters a few times. Every time I watch it, it still holds up. I love the period aspect of it. I love the kind of back to basics, essentially remake of the original Godzilla film. And it's just such a great story, such a beautiful story, such a like a harsh story. And, you know, set in your post World War II Japan. And I feel like that's something we don't really see is like what the people dealt with, you know, after the war and how they had to rebuild and all that. And then this new threat comes and, you know, just this idea of like chosen family and like, I don't know. It's just a beautiful movie and amazing sequences. Like when they're on the boat and Godzilla appears, does atomic breath for the first time that we see. And this whole very Jaws, this moment that reminds me of Jaws when it's pursuing them in the boat. And it's just so awesome. Even the soundtrack, the music is great. Cinematography. It was made for, I forgot the budget, but not very much. Like it puts Hollywood big blockbuster movies to shame big time. And I love that the director was also the head VFX person. And, you know, some of the CGI isn't that great, but like considering what they did and for the budget, they did a lot of amazing stuff. It's really great work. And yeah, I even saw the black and white version of it, Godzilla -1 color. That was really great as well. Definitely worth seeing in black and white. I hope when the Blu-ray comes out, they give you the option of watching both versions of it. I think that would be really awesome. Godzilla -1, one of the best movies of the year. Next on the list, I'm going to go Oppenheimer. I think this will probably win Best Picture. And I completely agree if it does, you know. Oppenheimer, I think, was great. Some people bitch about it being so long and this and that. Great movie, stellar cast, stellar cinematography, stellar story. Even the first time I saw it, when I didn't realize that it was this whole like courtroom drama aspect of it. And once they do the Trinity test, I'm thinking it's going to come to an end, but there's still another like hour of the movie. For a moment, I was like, oh shit, okay, here we go. But man, I love it. And I've watched it several times since, you know, in theaters a couple times and then on Blu-ray. And again, still holds up and even gets better with each watch. Like, and even it seems to go by even faster every time, which is awesome. Like usually you think when you know what's going to come up, it'll maybe make it drag a little bit, but Man, it's such an exciting movie. I love all the practical camera effects they did, like the idea of showing kind of what Oppenheimer's thinking about with all those flashes of particles and lights and all that. I just love that that was all done in camera. And yeah, really, really great film. And last but not least, again, this isn't in any particular order, is Radical. I don't remember the director's name off the top of my head, but it's a movie from Mexico starring Eugenio Derbez, where he's a sixth grade teacher and uses this radical method to just teach the students in this really kind of, violent border town. Great movie. I saw it in theaters, I think twice, maybe 3 times. And I did a solo podcast episode on it that you can go back and listen to. I love this movie. I was kind of disappointed to see that it wasn't up for Best International Picture or whatever, much like Godzilla -1 too. And I know there's a lot of politics involved and a lot of campaigning you got to do. It would have been nice to see both those movies in the running for that. But yeah, I think Radical is a very important movie. Even though we've seen it, we've seen the teacher finding new ways to teach underdog students. We've seen that before, but I don't know. This movie just delivers it at a really high level. And I think it's just important for everybody to see nowadays because we're watching, and it's based on a true story. We're just watching somebody teach kids how to be critical thinkers, which I don't think students and young people get enough of these days. Like everybody just kind of follows what they see on social media and this and that. And I feel people don't think critically like they used to. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the sense. Like even when it comes to films, and there's just a lot of the pandering and this and that. I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that, but I think it's an awesome movie. I think everybody should watch it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but try and find it, rent it, do whatever you got to do. I know I'll pick up a Blu-ray as soon as it comes out, but yeah, Radical, one of the great movies of the year. So anyway, that's it for this little video here. Old Overholt 10-year-old Cask Strength and my personal favorite movies of 2023. Anyway, that's a wrap. Cheers.